Over the last 2 weeks, I have collected all your questions on speed, technique, the write-ups, etc., and will answer them in this video. And as always, welcome to Beauty Slush channel, where I share tips and tricks and free resources for permanent makeup. So the first question is from D Tops. How to make it even? Do you count how many passes do you do for each brow? So honestly, I first would finish the first eyebrow, and then I would do the other eyebrow, and then I would come back just to maybe give it a little bit more depth to the brow. So overall, I do around 2 passes. Now, the amount of passes will also depend on your client's desire. Does your client want to have more saturated, darker eyebrow, or something natural? So I would just add up the color till the amount that my client would like, because sometimes the healing is really great and you don't want to overdo with your brows. So if you're aiming for something light, natural, you can do 2 passes, but for something more saturated, you can do around 4 passes, but again, it depends. Now, the next question is choosing the right color from Mary Barrios, Fee Artist. Sorry if I don't say your nickname correctly. So for choosing your color, I always choose the color according to client's hair color. And I have a trick: the more darker the skin of the client, the more warmer undertone of the color I will select, because usually any brown color on darker skin tones will heal cooler. So I always have to warm them up. But in terms of choosing the right color, I always stick to the client's hair color. So if it's ash brown, I select ash brown for my permanent makeup. If it's blonde, I select blonde, and etc. It's the easiest way how you can do it, and it always works for me and my clients. In terms of choosing organic or inorganic colors, it again will depends whether your client want to have long-lasting brows or brows that last around 1.5 year. So that's again, you can ask your client about, and we have a lot of varieties of good pigments from Tina Davis, and again, you can ask your client. By the way, guys, if you still struggle with powder brows, still create patchy look, and can't achieve beautiful powder transitions, I have an amazing step-by-step tutorial on how to fix it, as well as full tutorial on how to create this beautiful sand brow technique on latex. It's absolutely for free. Just make sure you download it under this video till it's still available. Now the next question is from Coast All Beauty Cassie. How do you know when you have perfect depth when you work on mature skin versus thick skin? Now that's a great question, and obviously a lot of people would know what is the right depth, and we have so many different skin types: thin skin type, mature skin type, thick skin. So I have a little trick. You might not know about this trick, but I don't hold my machine 90 degree. I hold it a little bit by 60 degrees. So I make sure the needle always stays in the right depth, because sometimes when you do this 90 degree, the needle really can go deep. But if you lean your machine to the side, you'll always stay around on the upper layer, which is totally fine. It's better the pigment go away rather than stay too deep. And then I always feel the sound, the vibration with the skin. Well, usually also depends on which pigments you're using, but when I'm using the pigments from PMU, I know this is another topic, because they're organic, so I can see already the color from the first swipe. So usually that's a good indicator the pigment is there. And also my pressure is not too much. So I guess my advice would be to start from the lightest pressure just feeling the scratchy sensation with the skin, and then from there see if there's any color. If not, you can increase the pressure slightly and judge from the healed result. If the healed result is poor, you can increase the pressure and increase the amount of passes, make the color more saturated. But again, the depth, it's really hard topic to answer and even explain or show in the client. It unfortunately comes with experience. As much as I want to give you the picture and show where you need to put the color, but it comes with experience. So I hope at least I answered or give some tips. And now let's move to another question, which is making sharp edge and crying emojis. So probably you are struggling with edgy powder brows. I guess it belongs to the arch of the brow. And usually at the upper part, I am very careful. So especially at the arches, my pressure is so light. Even my movement of the powder brow is very wide because whenever your movement range of motion is wide, your distance between the dots will be wider. So you'll have a bigger distance between the dots and as a result, lighter effect. So if, let's say, at the lower part, I will slow down my hand movement, it will be slow, it will have a shorter range so that the color is more saturated at the outline. But when it comes to the upper part, I'm doing faster and wider. So that's the trick I'm using to keep it light. And of course, it also comes from your mapping. Make sure your mapping, your outline has a round arch and not edgy. I usually just smooth this out with a brush, just erase a little bit of the edge from the shape. Now, the next question is, sometimes I struggle with which needle to use for which skin type. So honestly, don't really have to worry about the needle. In my experience, I used all kinds of needle. The only difficulty I had with needle is by them not soaking the pigment well and by not depositing the pigment well into the skin. But if the question is which needle to pick for which skin type, I would say it doesn't really matter as long as your technique is right, as long as your machine is good. So the needle plays not as crucial role as your technique and as your machine. So see where the issue is. Why do you struggle with which needle to pick for which skin? Maybe your eyebrows are getting red too fast. That's also could be a good indicator that there's a lot of trauma to the skin. Maybe your speed is too high, or maybe your machine is too harsh for the skin. It could be both. Or maybe you are pressing or hitting the skin with your own hand too much, or maybe your hand speed is too fast. There's a lot of things that come to this. And again, we're learning, I'm sharing with you my tips, so throughout these videos you can know more and know more how to fix your issues with powder brows. Now, next question is making a line that is not visible after healing on the bottom of the brow. So I guess you're trying to achieve the line on the bottom of the brow, which is visible maybe during the procedure, but not visible after the healing, which means a light line. A light line we create just by making sure your pressure is light. So whenever you do your outline, don't press too hard, make it light. You can work with the same speed as you work inside of the eyebrow, but maybe two ways how you can lighten the line is by making your movement more wider. So it kind of matches with what you will do inside of the brow. So the same way you do on the outline, and just don't do a lot of passes on the outline. Do few move down till you do the outline. Another way is just by lowering your pressure. So sometimes I can do very crisp line, but because it's light due to my pressure, it still won't heal as a line. The next question is ombre effect, blending and overlapping. Actually, I have an amazing tutorials under this video on how to do the blending transition. I even have the full video on how to do most beautiful sunbrow technique on latex. It's all step by step, really in detail. It's under this video completely for free. So what I suggest is after this video is finished, just go ahead and download it because I don't keep these resources for a long time. So remember, whenever you see any free resources under this video, just go ahead straightly and download it. So for this question, just check information under this video. Now, for the next question, which is my speed, I don't know if my hand movement is going too fast or too slow. Okay, that's amazing question too. And I have a trick. I actually use a metronome. When you just type metronome on YouTube, you can type 125 beats per minute, find the video which says metronome. And then this 125 beats per minute, it will just give you a guide for the hand speed. Now, I have different hand speed for different areas. Whenever I work inside the eyebrow or on the outline or the brow front, there's different techniques, but usually it's around 125. For a lot of people, you will find out that this is very slow hand speed. Again, that's because of the technique I'm using, which is less traumatic. There's again a lot of things that comes into this topic of me just explaining here. So you can try 125, you can try 180 beats per minute. And also you can try the sound like a G6 to practice the hand speed. So these should be really great for the proper hand speed. And the last one, I struggle to get them soft and pixelated. Struggle with getting powder brows soft and pixelated. There could be, unfortunately, a lot of reasons. Sometimes, and most of the common reason is the speed is too high. So the dots are too close together and it's a bit too harsh for the skin. So if you're using soft and gentle machine, maybe medium stroke machine that works very nicely at low speed, it will already automatically, with a proper hand speed, the one I mentioned just before, will create you pixels. So you don't need to even have to struggle. The other question is, how is your hand movement? How is your hold of the machine and all the details? Again, I have an amazing tutorial that I mentioned before under this video, so that might help you. And for me to answer these questions, whenever you see these questions on the stories, I suggest to add what machine you're using, what speed you're using. So maybe because sometimes that's the reason. And sometimes it will be even more helpful if you just send me your video of you doing your practice on latex, but don't send me to my DM because sometimes I have a lot of DMs to answer. You can just tag me. But be aware that I might reshare to my story and answer you how to help you. I will just reply there in story or show you my response in story. I think that's the best way how you can reach out to me because I always have these notifications whenever somebody's tagging me. If you avoid to post this from your brow account, you can post this from your personal account and just tag your practice. So I will reply to you and help you. If you don't know my Instagram, well, everybody knows my Instagram. It's beautyslash, and you can reach out to me there. So remember to download useful resources under this video and a little motivation to you for the day. Don't compare yourself to others because they, just like you, might have the same struggles, but they already completed their 100 steps of practice. So take your time, make those steps, make those small improvements daily by practicing, and result will come to you for sure. And I will see you on next week on Beautyslash channel.